welcome to Coloring with Jackie. We're just going to go through how to start to do a mandala. I've got some papers here to show you. Sorry, didn't see them. Papers here to show you what would be a good paper to pick out. Remember, we're going to be coloring this mainly in colored pencil, but if you're doing a mandala, you could do it on a hot press watercolor, do some watercolor on it, and then save or reserve a section to do a mandala in as well. Mostly I use a black archival ink pen. This one is a Micron. It's Pigma is the company name. You need a pen that's gonna work well, not smear, dry fast, and be archival. Everything should be archival because you never know, this could be the best thing you've ever done. So you want it archival just in case you want to keep it. Anyways, I'll switch over. We'll go to the above camera and I'll show you some paper. And remember, this is just paper. If you make a mistake, it's just paper. You have more paper. So don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time. There really are no mistakes. It just gives you an opportunity to do something different. So welcome to Coloring with Jackie, and we'll switch over and start moving along. Thanks. So, paper. Give it a minute to focus. Won't move anything. This is one paper that I just bought some samples of. It's the Derwent Life Fast paper. You can see it's cotton, hot pressed. Hot pressed is the best when you're using the colored pencils. It gives you a better finish. It's 300 grams per square meter, probably, I'm not sure. Natural white, so I'll show you this one. Just move it slowly so it doesn't. So it's quite a big piece. It's probably 12 by 8. So that's one type of paper. See, it's hot pressed, so it's very smooth, but it is hot pressed for watercolors. So you can do watercolor paints too. That's one. This is another very popular brand. This is the Studio, so it's a watercolor. It's again a hot press watercolor. Fabriano. I'll turn that so it's straight for you. Couldn't get the little camera to sit straight, so we'll have to turn things. It's 300 grams per meter, which is 140 pounds, so it's a little bit lighter. And it's whiter. It's quite smooth. And it's about the same size. Yeah, it's a little bit wider, but whatever. Comes in a pad like this. It's good paper. And the last one I have here is the Stonehenge. So it's Aqua Hot Press. It's a watercolor paper. It's the same 300 grams per square meter. Acid-free, 100% cotton, and it's nice and white as well. And it's in a pad. And I guess what they suggest if you're using this for watercolor is to actually use it in the pad, which is nice because it gives you a nice firm surface to work with. And we can just turn that around and we've got a nice surface to work on. I think that's the same with all the pads. They suggest, even if you're doing watercolors, they suggest that you, sorry about the focus, use it in the pad. I've never done that, but might try it. So there's 3 kinds of paper that you can use. And if you don't have it, the Fabriano. If you don't have it, you can use other paper that you have on hand. It is good to use archival paper, like acid-free is one of the things you see on here. It's got a little acid-free. It just makes it so your paper lasts better and your art will last better as well. But that's an individual decision. I think today we're gonna try the Fabriano. It's a nice paper. I've got one loose. Now you could just use it like this or use it in the pad. What I like to do is to put it on a background. Now this is just a piece of plexiglass. Some people use wood. See, it's just a... Other people use different things for backing. You want something that's especially if you're doing watercolors, you want to do something where the water's not going to hurt it. This one you could watercolor till forever. You know, once it's done, take it off, wipe it off, use it again. But what you do is you use it to stabilize your work. This is something you'll want to get a hold of. Now the color of this tape doesn't matter, but this is an acid-free artist tape. So when I put it, you can cut it with scissors or however you feel like. When you put it on the edge, where it's touching here, it's not going to leave a residue, and it's going to hold your paper from moving. And I know that's especially important with watercolors. We're not doing watercolors today, but this is just a good habit to get into, using acid-free tape. Try and make your borders even, so it'll look nicer when you finish. I mean, you could measure. That one's not so even. I'm just going to leave it for now. I don't go out usually right over the edges. Well, sometimes I do. Actually, a lot of times I do. But by the time you've got it framed, it keeps changing focus. I'm really sorry about that. No, it's good. It's stuck. It's not going to move. So what you're going to need to start in a mandala, now remember a mandala is a circle. It can be as small or as big as you want. You're going to need a few tools. Put that to the side. You're going to need a ruler. I like the metal rulers because the edges don't get bumpy. If you have a plastic one, you'll notice after time that the edges get worn and they can be a little like jagged or rough. Maybe you can see on this. This is a really old protractor. And along here, it's not a straight even line anymore. You can see how my nail catches because it's just worn out. Whereas you use a metal ruler for drawing lines, it's going to last better. I use this for like drawing short lines. It's nice to have a little short line thing because this is quite long. So for short lines, you use something that's still smooth that you can use. You're going to need something to measure your angles. I had a small protractor. They're just the little half circles ones that you can get in a math set with the kids' math set. Work great. Can't find it, so we're going to have to use a bigger one. But it's the same deal. There's a start. There's no center right at the one, and you just line it up, and you can use these inside lines, but they're usually too small for me. Center, you can do all your little measurements around the outside. And just keep returning it to center. It moves, return it. So you can measure with it. And there's little things in here you can use if you want, but Up to you. Another thing you're going to need is a compass. Hi, the clip I showed didn't work very well. You're going to need a compass. This is a nice compass. It's made by Staedtler. I just bought it at the local stationery store. It was about $30. This is quite a fancy one. It's got these things that contract back and forth. The arms actually bend if you need that for something. Not sure what. But if you wanted to, you could bend it and use it. I just keep it straight because that works best for me. We have this part is where the pen goes in, pencil or pen. This pops in, screw it down. Usually when I'm doing it, I make sure that they're about even height-wise. That's not a big deal. So you put that on and you can spin away just slowly. Yes, very nice, heavy. It's made out of metal. But you know, start with what you have. If you just have a little plastic one, use that. If you find it's not working for you, then move on and find something different. But yeah, these are really nice and will do the job admirably. So I just realized, oh, it's going to do that again, that I skipped videoing the beginning process. So I'll do it again. Got my compass. Got a B pencil in here. B is good because it's soft and it still erases well. So to recreate what we will continue with on the proper paper, do a hole where you want the middle. Pick a size. See if I do this, so we'll put it at the tiny start point. I think bigger than that would be nice. I think that looks nice. So I want it a little bigger than that. Not too much. So I inscribe the circle. I'm not using a lot of pressure. But remember, we're going to go over this in ink. So you don't need a ton of pressure. And on the other one, I decided to do, not moving this, decided to do like petals. So we're going to pick a starting point. I'm just going to draw one line here. And what I'm going to do with another pencil, put this in the start spot. Line it up with the line that I drew. Doesn't have to be perfect, remember this is just paper. But so I've got the start, this is where, so that's the middle. This line is at 0, and I'm going to mark every 60 degrees. I'm going to put a little mark. So 60, 120, 180, 240, 300. And that's back to 360, which is 0 again. What we're going to do is we're going to start at any of these and draw lines. Go where that one crosses. So right there where that one's crossing over, put the point and draw a line. Keep doing the same thing. Where that's crossing over, where those two lines are meeting, put the point there. Now here it crosses a little bit higher than the little mark I made. That's okay, we'll just follow what actually is working. This one's a little bit below, but that's okay. We'll just go there. This one crosses here. Oops, see, it moved, which is why we do this in pencil. And it can come over here, that's fine. Another thing I noticed I did, now I'm picky, because I don't want to accidentally ink that line in. I'm just going to get my little eraser. And I think you show you this later. It's a Tombow Mono Zero eraser. Great little things, good to have. Then I think on the other one I decided to do something outside too. So you just make it bigger. And you just go around. It gives you a kind of a frame. And even if it goes off the paper, that's okay. We can still do art that goes off the paper. Lots of art goes off the paper. There's no rules. So it's up to you. Sorry that keeps focusing like that. It's a very cheap little unit. I move my hands. So there you go. So that's how you start. If you pick a different number, like if you pick, instead of 60 on the marker, you use 60 degrees, use 40 degrees, you'll get 9 petals. So that's something fun to try out too. Like, what if I use 70? How many would I get then? And it's something to play with. Or if I went to 80, so I go 80, and then, well, 80 divides into 320 4 times, so I'll probably get 4 petals. If you try 9, sometimes, like if you go like 40 degrees, 4 times 9 is 36, so that'll work. If you do a number like 7, you might get an uneven number, and they might not be symmetrical like this. You might get like 5, and then it could get confusing, but that's up to you, and it doesn't have to be even. Okay? Now, we'll go back to the stuff that I taped before. And again, I apologize for the camera. I don't know why it's such a silly little camera. I'm going to have to get a proper one. So I've decided, so my little triangle there, it's close. It's not exactly right, but because we went off the page, it's the best I can do. And same here. I mean, I can draw it a little out onto this, but we don't know exactly where it'll be. At one point, we'll do the ones we can see. That one that was about there. That will make our little triangle look about the same as those other ones. And then the same here, so we've got to go over a bit. Now that little triangle looks the same as that little triangle. Yeah, if you're all on the page, no problem. If you're off the page, then you got to be a little more creative. So that's there. I actually can see where this one is now. Make sure that I can draw on that just to give me some baseline. I have this one and I have this one. Oh, that makes it so much easier. But don't let that discourage you from going off the page. You just have to be a little more creative. So now we've got 6 big points on the outside. We've got 6 petals. We have 6. Another thing. It's always nice to have one of these little brushes. I'm not sure, they're for painting, I'm not sure what, but for cleaning everything off. Because sometimes the little piece of the pencil will drop off, and if you go like this with your hand, you'll make a big mark, and then you'll have to erase it. So we don't want to do that. We just want to Oh, sorry, I went off the page there. We want to just keep working and keeping all this as clean as we can. So that's quite a bit down now. It gives us lots of different spaces to do different things. Lots of different creative spaces, like sort of this is a neat looking space. It might be a neat color. You can do a few colors in there that were like a coordinated color thing. I like that little foxy shape we've got in there. That's another piece. So I think right now is a good point to stop doing the pencil work and start doing inking. Now this is a micron. Another option that a friend of mine has got me onto is, can't see it. Just gonna pause for a second, find out this other piece, other tool that's a good one to use. So here it is. It's a Copic multiliner, and this is a 0.05, so it's really quite thin, like the mark it makes is very fine, and I want to make a thicker mark with the micron. But as these are, you use them up, you throw them away. With the Copics, the Copic multi-point of pigment ink, and I'm pretty sure it's archival. It's made in Japan. Copic, C-O-P-I-C. They make all the bunch of colors too. But anyways, this one, what happens is you can, if you use it up, you can buy a new nib, and you can also buy cartridges to refill it. Like this all comes off, you can click out the old one and put in a new one. So it's much more environmentally friendly. And once I use these guys up, so I'm going to go over to this so that I can use it again and again. Oh, sorry about the focusing. Sit. There's another one too. So Copic multiliner, microns PN. It says micron PN. It's got a plastic nib. I tend to press quite hard when I use mine, so a plastic nib is better for me. And there's one more. Just hang on here. I found the right one. Copic multiliner SP. Again, this one's quite fine, so I probably won't use it. But these are the ones where you can remove the top, replace the nib, and there's a tool that you take the bottom off and replace the cartridge of ink. Yeah, it's made in Japan. So this one I think is disposable. But these kind in this sort of aluminum shell are the ones that if you're going to do a lot of line drawing and inking are the ones to get, because they're a lot more environmentally friendly, as I said. This one is a 0.3, which is still too fine. So I'm going to use my micron. And I need to take a break here, and we'll come back and start inking. That way I don't need to worry about
Hi, you can see we've jumped over a bit, and I'm just drawing lines. I usually start with the straight lines and just get out my straight edge and just start drawing the lines. Same as we've done with the pencil, except now we're doing the ink. And it's just one line at a time. It's going to take a while, so there's no point rushing. Just keep looking where your pencil lines are and going slowly. Now, depending on the paper, sometimes, yeah, Karen's going to move this back up so you can have a better view. We're trying to stop it from coming out of focus all the time. There you go. So hopefully that'll stop the focus, unfocus, focus that it keeps doing. Not sure why it does that, but it's sure a pain. So yeah, so just going over again now, drawing all the lines using the black pen. Sometimes if you sit it in one place too long, you get a blotch. Try not to do that, but by the time this is all done, you probably won't be able to see it.
Seems to be better, right?
I'm not doing them in any particular order, just going from one spot to the other,
Okay.
whatever angle's easiest. If you need to, this is a good time to keep turning your page to make it so that your arm is comfortable.
Not quite at that point yet, you know?
You see, when I do some of those lines, they go right off the page. I'm drawing, like, going right off the page with them. Just because you don't want to have to stop at the edge, and that's what the tape's for, right?
Yeah.
Like those ones don't actually go off the page, but so we're just moving from place to place. Oh, and there's
Have to
that
do more
focusing
videos
again.
on this.
I'm so sorry about that. I guess I should stop apologizing for it because nothing I can do. But there you go. So just surfing around with my little 90-degree angle piece of plastic
No.
I picked up a little piece of paper. I'm standing here like this, but he
and filling in where it needs to get
cuts my
inked
paw.
up.
My hand with his paw.
He wants your
So
paper.
I'll drop a little piece of paper for him. You're smart.
I find this part quite meditative, so I tend to just chill out and do some lines.
It's not too small.
As they get bigger, their toys get smaller. The kittens are running around. They're a constant source of amusement. And remember, with these lines, you can always go over them again. There's no, you can only do this once sort of thing. Tend to get better results if you only do it once because you're not doing double lines or anything, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I'd like it to be perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I tend to do all the straight lines first, as you can see. can always use your compass and go over them again if you want. I like doing them by hand personally.
Okay, sorry for the really quiet talking. I was planning on voicing over the whole thing, but I thought it's just nice if it's not very loud. So what we're going to do now is curves. Now the thing with doing the curves and these curved shapes is to do it slow and to keep your wrists rather stiff and move
Use more your
the
shoulder.
pen with your shoulder a bit more instead of just using your wrist to do the curve, because
This.
you need
Shoulder
that
makes it
long,
smoother.
smooth stroke. And if you use your elbow and your shoulder a bit more, you're going to get a nicer line. But it also, it's just to go slow. And it's practice, right? You draw a lot of lines, you draw a lot of curves, you get better at it. So don't worry, you might want to practice a little bit on a piece of scrap paper, but don't worry about it. This, if you just go nice and slow, you'll be able to monitor it and get a nice curve in there. And I hope you're enjoying watching the Mandala tape shape take shape. Words are hard. I'm going to just stop the voiceover now and just let it go back. I'm probably talking as well. Oh, and then we have the black eraser incident, which will come up. And if you can't hear it properly, I'll voice over again and let you know how it went.
I just noticed I had missed a line. Just slower you go, the more neat you'll probably be. Mine wasn't quite dark enough. using my shoulder instead of just my wrist. Because your shoulder's a bigger joint, you have more control over it. And you can move it slower. But it's just practice. As I said, if you need to use the compass again. I mean, I guess if you were brave, you could start out with that, but and you don't have to fill all the lines back in. If you have something else in mind, you found a shape you find exceptionally pleasing, and you want to do something with it as a shape in itself, then don't fill it back in and use your shape. I think that's it. Now, one thing I like about the microns is that they dry so quickly, so you don't have to worry about dragging your hand through it. I mean, you want to be careful, you want to give it a couple seconds to dry, but now I'm just erasing lightly. Doesn't look like it has any ink on it, so we're going to stop. Stop before we go any further. Make sure there's some ink on it. You see in here, just lightly erase. It's probably going to take a couple times to go over it and erase. But if you see you're erasing something that's not got ink on it, stop, ink it up, and then go back to what you were doing with the eraser. We'll get our brush. Oh, look at that. It's smudging. The black eraser has smudged. Okay, black eraser, bad idea. Use a white eraser. Stapler, Mars, doesn't matter, white. I thought for there we were stuck with those black marks. That's going to be very, very unhappy. I mean, we could still make it work. We could still make it pretty. But not what I wanted. It's one thing if you do it and you want it to be like that. It's another thing if you do it and you don't want it to be like that. Might have been inked, it didn't look like it. I think I might be stuck with a lot of that. Bad black eraser. Well, it helped. And as you're working, if you see a pencil line, you can also go through and just zap it. Just notice here it didn't connect up. So black eraser bad, white eraser good. Bad. In the drawer.
Thanks for watching this. The coloring and decorating will be in a different video. Thanks for watching Coloring with Jackie.
Most of the marks, so that's good. There you go. Ready to continue.